Freshman to suit up for BYU this season. He is Rylan Bergersen. He joins us here in Studio C, where BYU Basketball with Dave Rose starts now.
Inside, he scores with 2 seconds. It is all over. Off the dribble. That was nasty.
Jimmer from 40 feet. He got it!
I thought there were some really good signs out there of some things that we can build on it. You just got to take those positive things and go with it.
Elijah down the lane, right to the rim, draws contact. Oh, there it is! Off the dribble, BYU down the other way. Celius into the alley, Euro step to the rim. Sack Celius.
This is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented by Siegfried Jensen, live from Studio C in Provo, Utah, with your host, the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Well, good evening once again, BYU fans. Welcome back inside the beautiful BYU Broadcasting building here in Provo for our second to last show of this season. Thanks, as always, to the supporters in our live studio audience. You can be a part of our season finale next week by getting your free seats at BYUCougars.com/Rose Show to join us right here in Studio C. And we invite you to be a part of our show by submitting questions for Coach Rose and tonight's guest, Rylan Bergersen. Just use Twitter and use the hashtag Rose Show. Hashtag Rose Show with your question. We'll get it in tonight. Well, the Cougars home for a brief pit stop before heading back out on the road later this week. BYU coming off a split decision in SoCal last week. And Coach Rose, one of those up and down weeks, nice win on Thursday and then a setback on Saturday.
Yeah, you know, I thought our guys really competed hard in both games. And we played well enough in the Pepperdine game to get a win. And, you know, it's just sometimes you wonder, you know, why some games you play a little bit better than others. But we competed hard in both games, and I was proud of them for that. I think the one thing that really stands out from the weekend is that we're in Malibu with it, you know, what was 74 degrees, and then we go to San Diego and it's, you know, 75 degrees, and we get 2 or 3 days, and then we come back here and it snows 12 inches and it's 18 degrees. And we're looking to get out to go to Portland. My brother lives up in Beaverton, and he texted me today and said it's been snowing all day in Portland, and yeah, it's you know, and usually that's not a good sign in Portland because it ices over pretty quick, and so hopefully we get in there tomorrow. But you guys probably don't know the studio audience here, but if you've been here before, I really am intrigued with the weather. I like the weather.
He does like talking about the weather.
We talk about the weather a lot, and the weather was really different down there.
Yeah, a bit of a stark contrast from being where we were last week to coming home and going through the feet of snow we are this week. Last week, Dave opened at Pepperdine, and it was interesting because they were just a couple of days removed. I think, in fact, it was a week ago today that Marty Wilson got the news that he wouldn't be back for the next season, and you're playing his team a couple of days later.
Yeah, you know, it's happened before, actually, and we've had a coach that was dismissed, and then the next game they come in to play us, and, you know, it's always interesting what kind of response you're going to get from the team. Marty, I mentioned this last week, Marty has really got his team. His team's playing really hard, and they're competing really well. They're just having a hard time winning games, and we got that team. We got a team that competed really well, that played really well, and gave us a great battle right down to the end. You
had a 9-point lead early.
Yeah, we did, and I thought that our guys, you know, read their defense and responded to it, and then Pepperdine started hitting shots, and there's a nice drive here, and their senior steps out and hits a big three. They go up, I think, 4 or 5 points right there, and then we responded well. We executed well. There's Yo with a catch inside and kicks it to Shear, and Shear hits a big 3 for us. This could really be a big part of the success of our team in the late seasons this year, being able to get going offensively. Here's a nice shot by Yo where he, you know, kind of just powers his way to the basket. We're up 2, and, you know, Kobe Ross, their freshman, makes a big drive in there and ties the game. We come back for the winner right here and leave a little bit short, and so we go to overtime. And in the overtime, got behind, but we've been in overtime a couple times this year, and so our guys are pretty familiar with it. And big play
bucket
here,
yeah. Down 2.
McKay makes the perfect read. Luke grabs that thing, makes a little hook shot going in, and then here's Eli. We've kind of finished the game with this look where Eli takes it off of the pick and roll with Yo, and they both stay. You know, you can see them stay with Yo. They come off of Luke, and Eli has that chance to dump it in if they commit too early. But they make a couple free throws and put the game away, and big win.
Good to get out of there with the W. Now, there's never a great time to drive from LA to San Diego, but as soon as the 75-70 game wrapped up in overtime, and you guys, again, shot the ball well enough to get this thing down and shot a good number of free throws, which you want to do, you guys got right in the bus, and you decided to go that night to get down to San Diego. Again, probably the best time to go would be when you went.
Yeah, well, it can be anywhere between a 2.5 to 3 hour drive to a 7-hour drive if you go in the mid-morning or middle of the afternoon. So we left right after the game and actually still got into some traffic because they were doing some construction down around La Jolla. But we ended up getting to the hotel about 1 o'clock. And the one thing about that turnaround was that we let them sleep a little bit and had breakfast around 10 or 10:30. So hopefully we're ready for the next day. One of the bigger problems, we couldn't get in the gym in the afternoon. We had to wait till the evening. So we did all our pregame work, all our scouting report, everything in the film room, and then went over and practiced around 5:30 or 6.
You got a San Diego team that wanted to shake things up a little bit. Lamont Smith went ahead and he benched his top 2 players to start that game. And I think he probably would say he got the desired result from the rest of the team, and then the guys that he brought off the bench too, and those 2 Isaiahs. Yeah, Isaiah, Pineros. He's the guy that didn't get a chance to play a lot here. He got in foul trouble, and he's a really tough matchup for us because he's a post guy who can get out on the perimeter and really drive it. And he ends up with 20 points in the game. And key stretch here when Juwan Gray gets ejected, you guys went on a little run at that point. Yeah, and like I said, our guys competed really well the whole game. It just that they made a couple big shots. There's a late shot clock, a long 3-pointer, and then the same kind of situation in the second half on a foul with a second left. But we've had a real hard time getting anything consistent offensively. There's a lot of fouls in the game. We're in foul trouble a lot. There's Eli making a shot, TJ getting to the basket, finishing and getting to the free throw line. But when it came right down to it, they just made a couple more plays than we did. I really was happy with Zach coming off the bench and making some big plays for us. And hopefully he can get his confidence rolling and really come to life here in the last couple of weeks of the season. It was an 11-point game for Zach, and again, just good to see a 3-pointer drop for him too, something that, of course, we know he's so good at when he gets going, and just enough from the Toreros to kind of ward off the runs you put on them late to get within 5 or 6 a couple of times, and USD wins it by 7 there, setting us up for the final 2 games of the regular season. And despite that loss, Coach, by the end of the night, you still had the 1-game lead over 4th place that you had to start the day. You stayed in solo 3rd after Santa Clara went to Pacific and won a game that night against the Tigers. Yeah, well, you can tell that there's a whole group of guys in here that have got really competitive teams, and there's going to be a really good team playing in this playoff, to get to the Saturday games. You got Santa Clara and San Francisco and San Diego. All 3 of those are good teams, and they're going to end up one of those players will end up in the 7th spot playing the 10 seed. So, those are Friday night games, and when you're the 1 or 2 seed, you have all week long to prepare for 2 teams. One thing about the 3 and the 4 and the 5 spot is that you know exactly who you're playing and you can prepare for it, and you've got all week to do that. And so we'll probably be in one of those 3 spots, I hope, anyway. Yeah, you'll be playing on a Saturday afternoon game in Las Vegas. Well, it's time for our first break here on the show, folks, and as we do, we'd like you to know that you can still enjoy that full hot breakfast buffet dinner Monday through Wednesday, a kitchen and a large grassy backyard along the Provo River Trail, all at the Residence Inn Marriott in Provo, one of our fine sponsors. When we come back, Coach Rose looks ahead to the road home weekend ahead as BYU Basketball with Dave Rose continues from Studio C.
BYU Food to Go's convenient location at 2191 North Canyon Road in Provo makes bringing popular BYU foods to your next event easy. Everything's ready when you need it at the drive and load pickup. You drive in and they load no matter the weather. And stop in the on-site creamery for great BYU chocolate milk and ice cream. BYU Food to Go, bringing campus to your table. Call for details, 801-422-5001.
The Missionary Starter Package at Mr. Mac includes 1 wool blend 2-pant suit, 4 wrinkle-free dress shirts, 4 washable ties, and a pair of Echo or Johnson & Murphy walking shoes. The Missionary Starter Package at all 10 Mr. Max stores.
Blue runs deep on BYU TV. Don't miss the BYU Boise State Gymnastics Meet. Live Friday at 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain. Watch all of your favorite BYU teams on BYU TV, your home for Cougar sports.
BYU Sports Nation is about the fans.
Sports, not my thing.
That's okay. You can watch Studio C. We do it for the fans.
How many of the field goals equate to a basket?
7.2. To me, it should be about Taysom Hill more than it is about Spencer and I, but it's fun to be a part of that together.
I was not aware that there would be this much math in sports.
Me neither. People know the show. They want to come up and say hi, and they've driven for hours to be at that game.
I can do Quidditch.
Yeah? You've been a snitch, but you wouldn't be the snitch.
I don't want to talk about that,
Okay,
man.
that's cool. Spencer and I are part of the fan base. We graduated from BYU.
Is there a lot of running in baseball?
Yeah. It's like boxing.
Is it like?
Yeah, it's like boxing.
Well, I saw a guy punch a dude in baseball.
Spencer and I feel like we're just the connection between BYU sports and the fans. It has meaning, right? BYU sports matters to people, so it's great to be a part of that.
BYU Basketball with Dave Rose is presented in part by the BYU Creamery, the classic BYU tradition. Have a scoop today. And by Smith's. Low prices, market fresh at Smith's.
Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented by Siegfried and Jensen. Cougars playing their last 2 regular season games this week, and Coach Rose are used to playing Portland and Gonzaga on the same weekend. It happens a lot, but usually it's either 2 there or 2 here. This week it's the split.
Yeah, and not only is it the split weekend, but it's a Portland team that we haven't seen since 2017. I mean, we played them in
8 weeks ago.
You know, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And you know, they're playing a lot different, and you know, kind of the same guys. They're starting a couple different guys, but most of the minutes are being played by, you know, the same group of guys. But they play small. It's a team that'll play 6'4", you know, 4-man at times, and hard to remember our game against them. Yoli had a huge game, and I think he had 26 and 15 or 13, something like that, and Elijah had a big night, 20-plus points, and I think they both had double-doubles.
They both had double-doubles in that game, yeah.
So, you know, and you know, that venue up there, it seemed like they play so much faster in that venue, and this is a team that's really pushing the ball. Got 3 guards that can really take it and drive it, and two really, really good shooters. So we'll have our hands full, but looking forward to playing them, because I think it's one of those teams where, you know, it's, you know, that San Diego team was a really tough matchup for us, and they just were really, really physical. I think there'll be a little more space on the floor here for our guys to play.
Well, hopefully the Portland weather cooperates with us to get to the gym and everything else. We have, here we go, wow, 27. It's a little brisk up there.
That's really brisk. Yeah, 85% humidity, probably normal for that.
But yeah, so that's the forecast for Thursday, so it's going to be a little dicey up there. Wow, hope it works out well for us.
But that is really cold for Portland.
It is, very cold.
Anybody in here from Portland? That's pretty cold for Portland.
The sub-freezing stuff is not normal up there, but there's our weather.
I usually go for a pregame walk at Portland. We stay by the river, and I don't remember any 27 degrees walk. That would cancel the walk.
You can go for a pregame skate.
That would cancel a walk.
Go for a skate. Well, Saturday, you get Gonzaga coming into your place. Normally we'd say, hey, it's senior night, if you had a senior.
Yeah, it'll be senior night somewhere, but not in the Marriott Center. And our guys will be excited to play this game, and I'm sure the Zags will too. We'll see how Thursday night plays out, you know, as far as win-losses. And there's a chance that Gonzaga could be playing for, you know, an outright league title,
and you've spoiled a few of their parties in the past.
That would be, you know, something that we'd probably like to do. So.
And they come in, I think when you played them last, they were 14th there. They're up to 6th right now. A lot of teams ahead of them losing, and they put a nice run on here.
They've won 8 or 9 in a row, which is one of the longer winning streaks in the country. A lot of these guys that have won 18, 19 games got beat the last couple of weeks. And this is a really impressive Gonzaga team. They did something to the St. Mary's a couple of weeks ago that you just don't see happen very often.
Controlled from the get-go at their place.
And they came out and banged 5 or 6 shots right off the bat, got the lead, and then wire to wire led the whole game.
So our player guest tonight, coming up in a bit, is Rylan Bergersen. I said in the open of the show, he's the only freshman to play for you this year. So no seniors and just one freshman for you.
Yeah, it's the roster on our team has changed as much in the last 2 or 3 years as any period in the time that we've been here. And you know, trying to keep it consistent with, you know, upperclassmen and underclassmen has been a real challenge. I think the one thing that we've really tried to do was, you know, over the years is to keep, you know, a handful of guys in each class. And right now we're kind of struggling through that. And I'm looking forward to next year when the majority of our roster finally, for the first time in the last couple of years, will be upperclassmen. And Rye's one of those younger guys. And I love to have the young guys on our team because they bring so much passion, so much energy. But those upperclassmen understand a lot more about the college game and the length of the season and the ups and downs that you go through and the challenges and how it affects not only you personally, but your team and your teammates. And so, you know, I think that's something to really look forward to when we get most of these guys in the junior and senior class next year.
We look forward to chatting with Ryan, who you got into both of your games last week in the first half of those games.
Yeah, and Ryan hasn't had a lot of real consistent minutes over the season, and I think that's you know, kind of normal for a lot of freshmen. But you know, Ryan's given us such a great look in practice, and I don't know if we can find a better player for what he's done for us, because he can simulate the small four, he can simulate a three, point guard at a time, playing the two. He's a really good shooter. I think the future is really bright for Ryan. It's just one of those, you know, things where patience will be a real virtue for him.
Rylan's coming up next. Folks, as we head to break, we're brought to you by Utah Community Credit Union, helping people make smart decisions every day. At UCCU, you can get a low fixed rate on a home equity line of credit and lock in that low rate for 10 years with absolutely no closing fees. To learn more, visit uccu.com. After the break, rookie Rylan Bergersen joining us here in Studio C. This is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented by Siegfried Jensen.
Hi, I'm Dave McCann with BYU TV Sports. Each season, we invite companies like yours to be a part of the BYU brand, aligning your business with respected academics and athletics. Becoming a corporate partner means you'll benefit from showcasing your products and services with game day signage, social media, radio, and TV campaigns. Whether on the field, in the stands, or on the air, BYU's here to help your brand grow. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
This is Relative Race.
Are you a relative?
I am your relative.
Who are you related to? We're first cousins.
No way! Who has the stamina to endure this 10-day odyssey for $50,000? 4 new teams have submitted their DNA. We've found their living relatives scattered all across the country. Each team will try to find those relatives faster than their competitors.
No idea what to expect.
I need to kind of get my game face back on. We didn't know you guys even existed.
Well, what's up, cousin?
That's exactly what we define family as.
It's everything to me. It's exactly what I came searching for, and we found it.
It's something I've never experienced in my life.
Social media, hashtags, internet, what? These are some super confusing things, but all you need to know is that Studio C is on YouTube, and we are always releasing new videos. Subscribe to see all the cool stuff we're going to be doing next.
Find Studio C on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Connect with us, we'll connect with you.
I believe it's really important to be well-rounded. I'm in a position where I can grow, not just on the basketball court, but I can grow both academically and spiritually. Being here at BYU is the best decision I ever made.
What up? I'm Jerem Jordan from BYU Sports Nation. You're watching BYU TV. See the good in the world.
Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, with your host, the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Back inside Studio C for more BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented by Siegfried Jensen. We're on BYU TV and BYU Radio. Use hashtag Rose Show to get a question in for our Q&A segments later on in the program. Sitting alongside the head coach, Dave Rose, I'm Greg Wrubell, as we welcome in a player with a former Division I and NBA basketball player for a dad, and a former Division I women's soccer player for a mom from Boise, Idaho. Please say hello to Rylan Bergersen. Good to see you.
All right. What's up, Coach?
All right, and I hope you don't get tired of talking about the athletic connection to your parents.
Oh, no, never,
okay.
Never.
What are your first memories of Dad in particular right now as an athlete?
I think my first ones are just him in college. I think him at Boise State. I was still young, but I've seen some old videos before and remember being a young kid and just watching him play at every game.
Dave, you remember watching his dad play because you played against him.
Yeah, yeah, he's quite a competitor, and you know, I've loved watching him coach over the years too. I mean, he's had great programs up there. I think he's one of the first, you know, AAU programs to come to Boise, and but it's interesting how we you know, first we've known him for a long time because Roberto would bring his teams through here, and when he'd have tournaments down here, he'd tour the Marriott Center, and we'd get to meet him and see him. But we were recruiting Colby a lot, and
Colby Lee.
Yeah, Colby Lee, and then, you know, Rye was the guy that was doing all the work, and I kept saying, why don't we get this guy? And Colby was younger, you know, but it all worked out.
The dad, Roberto, of course, played at Boise State, and Dave, it was your first season here as assistant coach, where I think you got the second of 2 games that Roberto's Boise State team played against BYU back.
I also played against him when he was at CSI, and when I was coaching at Dixie. So we've known.
You're pretty well familiar with him. Yeah.
He's a tough competitor that could really play. And he had a nice pro career. It was fun when we were recruiting Ryan and having dinner and all the different things we did. He let us know a lot of stories about the foreign, you know, the cities that he played in, the countries that he played in, and you know, the stories from that age group is so great because a lot of what they did, they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have GPS, and everyone got lost everywhere. He told a story about how, you know, he got to this one country, I can't remember what country it was, but he got with he and his wife and Rye got settled somewhere, and then he had to go to practice. He went to practice, and then
last they saw of him.
Yeah, it's the middle of the night, and he still hadn't come back. And he had his car. He was lost somewhere out there. Couldn't call anyone. Didn't know anything.
Where I was like, why did Dad run away?
So he finally made it back, though.
Yeah.
Mom's name is Rhonda.
Mm-hmm.
She played at UW.
Yep.
As a soccer. So she's as good an athlete as Dad, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yep.
Probably better.
Here's some pictures of the family, and you have 2 younger siblings. There they are, right?
Mm-hmm, yep.
So how old are the younger brothers?
One of them is a junior, and the other one's an 8th grader.
And what are their sports?
Basketball.
All basketball all the time?
Yep.
Now, Mom was soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Any interest in soccer for you guys too, or not?
We played when we were really little, but we never really played past that. We played a little bit of football, but up until 7th, 8th grade, all 3 of us were just all basketball.
And you mentioned this. I think you were your folks had you while he was at Boise State, right? So he was a dad while playing college basketball. We're used to that, but it's not a common thing at other schools. Maybe
yeah,
he was a new dad, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. So we just got back from San Diego, and we played the Toreros, and you know at least one of their guys pretty well, Isaiah Wright, who played at Utah, now at USD. How did you guys know each other?
I've known him since I was like 5, probably. His dad played at Boise State, so that's kind of how my dad got the connection, and I just grew up with him ever since. He's been really close friends since like I was 5 years old. Went to high school with him, so played with him a little bit, and yeah, I'm really close with him.
And what's the Colby Lee connection with one of your current BYU teammates now?
He came to play with us 5th grade. I think he played a little bit, played like a couple years, left, and then came back 9th grade and played with us on Hoop Dreams, and then 1 year with Fast, and so I'm really close with him too.
Okay, Fast was the AU team, right?
Yeah.
And the other one as well, Hoop Dreams was. So you went to Bora High School up in Boise, right?
Yep.
What kind of athletic tradition does Bora have? As we're going to see you playing for your team up there.
They have a really good tradition, honestly. I think when I was there, we had made the state tournament like 11 of the last 13 years or something like that. We're a really good basketball school, and we kind of carried it on a little bit, and I think they're still carrying it on now.
We saw a Bora uniform. We saw a Link uniform. Explain what Link was, because that was a prep school between there and here, right?
Yeah, Link year was the prep school. So after my senior year, I went to Link year, and that's in Branson, Missouri, and just kind of worked on my game, kind of got recruited a little bit more, and just use that as an extra year to get ready for college.
I hear they have a good head coach there now.
Yeah, they do have a good head coach.
Who is that?
That's my dad.
Coach, you talked about it a bit. The recruitment process for Rylan kind of had two phases, right? Because you liked him as a high schooler before you got him out of prep school, right?
Absolutely. We saw him play in quite a few tournaments, and in fact, his senior year, he ended up, or the summer before his senior year, there's a 3-week period in the summer that you can play from Wednesday to Saturday. And it used to be you stayed out all the coaches went all the way out, and they've adjusted it a little bit over the years. But their team went straight from South Carolina to Los Angeles, and Los Angeles to, was it Vegas?
Yeah,
after
Vegas.
that.
Vegas was
so they were gone for 24 straight days
we were.
from home. And a lot of those guys up there in Idaho, especially some of them off the farm, their parents probably aren't that happy with the basketball coach taking them away for
3 weeks of chore time.
Yeah.
What made the biggest impression on you when it came to BYU?
I think it was just the feel. When I came here for the visit, the coaches were cool, the players were really cool, and they just kind of opened me in here, and I just felt really, really good about it, and I felt comfortable here.
How'd your folks feel about the BYU decision?
They felt good. They liked it. I mean, obviously it's kind of close, so they like that, but they like it, and they like the coaches, and they've kind of met some of the players since I've been here, and they've liked it too. They love the decision.
What have you learned about your own game and about Division I basketball here in your freshman season?
I think it's a huge difference. It's more physical, it's more up-tempo, and I think I'm just learning as the year goes on. I'm learning more and more and getting more comfortable.
What would you say maybe is the strongest part of your game, and what part are we going to see develop as you go along here as a Cougar?
I think the strongest part of my game is my basketball IQ. I think I've played the game long enough to know the game very well, and I think one thing that we're going to see develop is my ability to handle the ball and my ability to defend all positions.
And from a coach's perspective, Dave, what do you think about Rye now and what he's going to be for you?
I think that we're, that's why it's a good fit, because we're pretty much on the same page. I mean, he develops every day. I mean, every week you see progress, and I think that like I said, the real contribution that he's made to our team is what people haven't seen, but that's that'll happen soon enough. He's a guy that is really going to be a big part of our basketball program, that's for sure.
Let's learn more about Rylan Bergersen right now, as it's time for our final player vignette of the season, as we get the read on Rylan through what his teammates have to say. Let's take a look.
Rylan is he's super quiet. He's like my little brother, honestly.
He's pretty quiet until you get to know him, and then he kind of pops out of his shell.
He grew up around basketball his whole life, and so he sees the game really well.
His basketball IQ, I think, has become a strength of his.
He can shoot the ball like none other. He's a really good shooter.
He can shoot the ball from pretty much wherever, and when he gets going, he can really shoot the lights out.
He's sneaky athletic. It surprised you how athletic he is.
He's got really good bounce. I wish I could jump like him. With all of our return missionaries, we're pretty old, and so he's kind of brought our age down a little bit.
Rylan is super good at rapping. He's so good at freestyling.
He's got some nice shoes, which I admire.
He'd be Drake. He's quiet, but the ladies love him. He has a girlfriend, though. Back up.
He's dependable, he's loyal, he's a great teammate.
He's got a great future ahead of him.
Rylan's a dude I'm super impressed with, and I think he's going to have a great, great career here.
All right, that's Rylan Bergersen as his teammates see him. So how long did it take till you felt like you were one of the guys?
Not too long. They made me feel comfortable, like right when I got here. I think it was the first couple of weeks I was kind of trying to fill it out, but I feel real comfortable now, and I'm loving all the guys.
I think every team would love to say they've got great chemistry, but one of the things I've really noticed about this is how many guys go out of their way to say how much you all truly enjoy being around each other on and off the floor.
Yes, for sure. It's so fun being in the locker room and hanging out after practice, hanging out after games. The guys are so cool, and it's fun to hang around them, and got some funny guys on the team, and it's just great to be around.
We have found that over the year.
Yeah, for sure.
Fans, if you like that vignette, you can watch all of this season's Rose Show player and coach features on youtube.com/BYU TV Sports, and go to the playlist. We've got a 10 questions playlist, our vignette feature, so check it out. Cougar fans, remember that basketball season is blanket season too. That means Minky Couture. Learn more at softminkyblankets.com. We'll come back after this with more with Rylan Bergersen. Your questions and 10 questions. Straight ahead, this is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose here in Studio C.
If I got hurt and was laid up at home, I wouldn't even think to call a lawyer.
What a hassle. I'd want to meet them first.
What if I told you that for your first consultation, your lawyer will come to you, home or hospital?
Really?
Really.
They do that?
If you've been seriously injured, we'll come to you. It's your job to get better. It's our job to deal with the insurance companies and protect your legal rights.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
BYU game day, and we are ready to go.
Make sure that you take out your frustrations on this week.
It is rivalry week here in Provo.
Let's go!
Fine shot.
When you're playing against greatness, you have to be perfect.
Next time on the Story Trek, I'm back in the Sooner State.
I will treat you like a dog when you are back in home.
She left India to live a dream that ended up a nightmare. What's happened since our first story? And a man who admits his life is trash.
I'm almost a hoarder.
Plus, two great friends, great kids made tough by tough things.
He went fishing and never came back.
Join me from Oklahoma tonight on the Story Trek.
BYU Basketball with Dave Rose is presented by Siegfried and Jensen, helping Utah families for over 25 years.
Time now to check in on our Cougars in the pros before All-Star Weekend. Kyle Collinsworth had a 19-minute game with the 6 points for the Mavs. Jimmer Fredette and his Shanghai Sharks have made the Chinese Basketball Association playoffs. First game's coming up in early March. Brandon Davies' team out there in Lithuania, Zalgiris, they won a cup title on the weekend. One of his teammates, they have a lot of fun with this, former Zag Kevin Pangos, the other player. Pangos is feeding Davies on that team. And then Tyler Haws playing up in Canada for St. John's Edge. And LJ Rose with the Salt Lake City Stars of the G League. Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented by Siegfried and Jensen. We are visiting with BYU freshman Rylan Bergersen here this evening. Time for some social media questions. Ry, you ready? Mm-hmm. This first question comes in from, and I think we know this guy, at Evan_Troy33. Who's the best in the apartment at Fortnite? Fortnite, you tell me, is a video game. Is that right? He says, is it Evan, you, or Yo?
Yeah, it's definitely me. But I mean, it's a good question though. I mean, they're both good, but I'm better.
What kind of game is this we're talking about here?
It's like a shooter kind of game, but it's like you can build. I don't know. It's gotten popular recently. It's like a free game you can download, so everybody's playing it now.
Okay, and you're pretty good at it, yeah. Evidently. Second, at Texan Parker, what's the proper pronunciation? This is good. What's the proper pronunciation for Boise?
I would say Boise. Boise.
Are you a Boise or a Boise guy, Dave?
Yeah.
Whatever he said. Yeah, I've heard that the people up there like it Boise, yeah. And that Boise doesn't really roll with them very well. All right, we'll go with Boise from now on. The only thing more intense, folks, than the stretch run in college basketball, it's the competition for the high score in our weekly 10 questions quiz. It's time for the skinny mic. It's time for 10 questions. Scott Hill has the skinny mic for me after we check the leaderboard. Look at this. How do we have so many guys get 9 for 10? Nobody gets 10 on this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 guys, including Heath last week, have got 9 for 10. So the challenge is to you, Rylan. Can you be our first and only 10 for 10 of this season? Thank you, Scott, with the skinny mic. And here we go. Question number 1. You scored your first points as a BYU Cougar, regular season we're talking about, in the season opener against Mississippi Valley State. Were those points scored on A, a 2-point field goal, B, a 3-point field goal, or C, a free throw?
I would say, was it a 2-point field goal?
3-pointer.
3.
From deep in the open.
Oh, was it?
Number 2, your dad Roberto played BYU twice, as we talked, as a member of the Boise State basketball team in the late 90s. What was the Broncos' record in those 2 games?
1-1.
BYU, unfortunately, was 0-2 in those games. Boise won them both. Boise won them both. Question 3. Besides yourself, who are the other 3 players on the BYU roster from the great state of Idaho?
Braden, McKay, and then Colby.
We count Colby. You got it. 3 for 3. Good job. According to the NCAA rule book, each basket ring or each hoop is how many feet above the floor?
Each basket?
Yeah, how high off the floor is the basket?
10 feet.
10 feet, yeah. Don't overthink it. Yeah. You got it. Question 5. Your dad, Roberto, and former BYU Cougar Travis Hansen were both drafted in the second round of the NBA draft by this team.
The Atlanta Hawks.
Yep. Okay. One WCC school shares its team nickname with that of your high school and your prep school. Which WCC school is it? So at Bora and at Link, you're both the
Lions.
So what WC school is the Lions?
No. Is it Loyola Marymount?
Hey, there we go. Good job. Okay. From one set of cats to another, Dave Rose is the head coach of the Cougars and played his college ball for another batch of Cougars at which university?
It was
Coach Rose played for University of?
Houston.
Yeah, you got it, yes. Bring them up. Houston is right. Question 8. Which of your teammates currently leads the Cougars in assists?
Is it TJ?
It is TJ with 125. All right, we're down to our last 2 questions for you. As a high school player and a prep school player, you wore the jersey number 35. Why did you choose that number?
I think, honestly, when I was at Bora, I chose that number my sophomore year because I kind of had the last pick of numbers because I was like one of the few sophomores on the team, and I liked it and just stuck with it.
Liked it and kept it. All right. Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, yeah.
And number 10, at BYU, you wear jersey number 1. Why did you choose that number?
I chose that number. I've always wanted to be number 1 since I was growing up because my favorite player is Tracy McGrady. So I've always been number 1 on hoop dreams and stuff.
Okay, there it is. That's also correct. All right. You finished strong, really strong on this one. I'm not sure you make it to the first page of the leaderboard. Yeah. He's tied for 8th. So there you go. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. We have a 7-way tie for first. You're tied for 8th. So that's good. Folks, how about a hand for Rylan Bergersen here tonight? Nicely done. All right. After our break, we've got your questions for the Cougars head coach and from the audience and Twitter. This is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose. We're back in studio. See you in a minute.
Anxiety, restlessness, insomnia, fatigue, depression, weight gain. The biggest thing that patients don't understand about low thyroid is that it's usually not a thyroid problem. It's actually an autoimmune disease that's attacking the thyroid called Hashimoto's disease. For us, it's really cool to see how much of an impact we can make at Red River for these patients' health and for their quality of life.
Red River Health and Wellness can help with the treatment plan remotely or at any one of our locations.
On the basic level, we offer transportation. We carry 4 wheels, tailgates, and a place to rest your rump. Beyond that, we provide adventures, opportunities, and jobs well done. So perhaps our favorite offering is our full line of trucks, including the new Nissan Titan. Right off I-15, Tim Daly Nissan Southtown and the popular full-size Nissan Titan. Think Nissan. Think Tim Daly.
You know what makes me really excited about this show is seeing the parents really disgusted by the food that their kids have baked. It never gets old for me.
Every time we say it's time for the bake-off, to see their little mischievous smiles come on their faces makes me really happy.
We're looking for our daughter, Kylie. Is she here?
You answer my questions, and then maybe I answer yours.
I will get you inside the settlement, Silas.
Because you pity me.
It's not too late for you to set everything right.
Killing our priest won't exactly endear you to the ancestor or to our people.
Before you kill me, hear me out.
Blue runs deep on BYU TV. Don't miss the BYU Boise State Gymnastics Meet. Live Friday at 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain. Watch all of your favorite BYU teams on BYU TV, your home for Cougar sports.
I'm Blaine Fowler from After Further Review, and you're watching BYU TV. See the good.
Yoli, top of the arc. Elijah down the lane, right to the rim, draws contact, and there it is! It's a three-point play chance! Finally, the whistle is heard, and the Cougars take a 2-point lead.
That's our exciting play of the game presented by Nissan. Proud partner of the BYU Cougars, Nissan, innovation that excites. We're back on BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented by Siegfried Jensen here in Studio C. And Elijah really took over that game in overtime at Pepperdine, scored 9 of your 11 in the extra session. We saw that play earlier, but he's so good at getting to the rim, drawing contact and finishing. And he really finishes well, and that's you know, I think he's getting a lot of attention, especially his second time through league, you know, but he did a real good job, especially in the overtime, of being able to read and then kind of react and take what was available to him. And he's really good when he gets to the free throw line. And so it was interesting, you know, he missed that one free throw. The end of regulation. At the end of regulation, yeah. You know, which I know he was kind of kicking himself for, so I'm glad he got a chance to finish that thing off. Then went 4-4 from the line at San Diego. All right, it's Q&A time for the coach. We've got some live audience and Twitter questions ready to roll. Let's stay here in our studio audience and go to Curtis Covington. Hello, Curtis. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
What was your favorite place to play in when you were a player, Coach Rose?
My favorite place to play when I was a player, probably our home court at Hofheinz Pavilion. That was the funnest place to play. We won mostly all our games. But if you take a road venue over the years, you know, in our league, the Southwest Conference at the time, I think that, you know, at the time we had Arkansas and Baylor and Texas and TCU and, you know, SMU. We had some amazing little home court. But I think that, you know, probably Barnhill Arena is one of the most memorable places that we ever played. And one of the reasons is that Coach Lewis, you know, was a legend at the University of Houston, coached forever, never won in Barnhill until our senior year. So that was pretty memorable. You mentioned Hofheinz. That's currently a building undergoing a pretty substantial renovation right now. Yeah, and the Cougars got a pretty good team this year. Houston's got a really good team. They're playing all their home games right across town in Texas Southern's place, and they just beat Cincinnati the other day. The first time they beat a top 10 team, well, basically since we did, you know, years and years ago. So, you know, they're looking up and got themselves a really good team. Hopefully, we've talked a little bit, maybe get them on the schedule in the next year or so. We haven't talked about this a lot over the years, I don't think, but the first postseason game you coached for BYU as head coach got to be back at Hofheinz in that 2006 NIT. Yeah, and we've tried to actually, you know, get a game back and forth, but it just hasn't worked as far as dates are concerned. Plus, there's one big issue, is that since we've already played down there, I want them to actually play here first. Up here. You know, that always seems to be an issue, but looking forward to getting that done if we can. Twitter question for you, Coach, from @Glennard_Skinnard. What do you think contributes the most to difficult shooting from three if you're not hitting it? Is it more mental or physical? Well, I think it's a combination of both. You know, is that really Leonard Skinner? No, @Glennard. Glennard. Oh. It's probably his own little. One of my favorite bands. Yeah, that'd be great if Leonard Skinner was actually tweeting into the show. Yeah. Man. All right. Maybe they'll be our soundtrack for the final show next week. Freebird is just one of the best ever. Which the BYU Marching Band does play. The band plays it at the end of every game at our building. So. So the question was, psychological or physical? I think it's a combination of both. I think in the San Diego game, they are really physical with us. But I still, you go back and watch the film, the 22 threes we shot in that game, I'd go back and shoot most of them again. They're open shots, they're good looks, not too quick. You know, I think it's, you know, everybody goes through this. I was reading a deal about Jay Wright. Jay Wright's one of my favorite guys, coaches at Villanova, and we're pretty good friends. And you know, he went through a 3-game stretch where his team was 17 for, I think, 84 from the field, from three-point line. And they shoot a lot of threes, real guard-oriented team. And then the other night, they went to Xavier, and they beat Xavier on their home floor and went 16 for 32. So they in one game, hit as many threes basically as they had in the last 3 games put together. So I think every team kind of goes through it. One thing you got to make sure is that the players know that the coaches believe in their ability to make that shot. And hopefully we take the right ones and we start making them. Question from @PriceTyson. What was your most, and this could be BYU, JUCO, high school, what was your most memorable technical foul
that has been called against you? Player? I don't know.
Yeah, that's hands down. That story is a legend.
Are we going to go with the one in
Manti? Manti is
you want to recap it for us?
Well, to make a long story short, it was the second technical, so I got tossed out of the game. And I went in the locker room when I was really mad. I was new to Utah. Okay, it was my first year here after playing at Houston, and I kicked the rail of the door in the locker room, and it opened up. And so I walked out, and it shut behind me and locked. And there was about 3 feet of snow. I had to walk
you were out of the gym.
Out of the gym in the snow. Had to walk all the way around the building, come in the front way, and explain to the lady taking the tickets that I needed to get back into the game. But I'd been kicked out of the game. I didn't have it, my hand wasn't stamped because I didn't pay the first time. And so she went in and checked with somebody to make sure I was telling the story correctly. And then they ushered me back into the locker room where I sat for the remainder of the game.
You had to get back in so you could get re-kicked out.
That's right.
Yeah, there it is.
So and I've had a few. I got tossed in a JUCO game and was sitting in the AD's office trying to look through a little hole in the wall to see the gym. So, yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm very fortunate that I got this job later in my career.
Because all we have at BYU is the jacket toss.
Early.
You know, I mean, that's good, but it's not getting kicked out of the arena in the snowbank.
Early in my career, this BYU TV would have had a heyday with me.
More Dave Rose Q&A is coming up after the break. This is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose here in Studio C.
When the Sports Nation guys do a show at Deseret First Credit Union, you never know which BYU Sports VIP might show up.
That's the Cosmobile. The Cosmobile's rolling up, baby. Woo! Cosmo's here!
Hey, maybe Cosmo needs a student checking account or a soda inside.
This has already been the best in a minute ever. Ever. Go bump that music, Cosmo.
Deseret First Credit Union, proud to support BYU Sports Nation on BYU Radio and BYU TV.
I believe it's really important to be well-rounded. Being here at BYU is the best decision I ever made.
There's a time for everything. When it's time for basketball, locked in to play hoops.
My first love is basketball. I want to play basketball as long as possible. I love the challenge.
Having that money makes you not have to worry about money. And that's a very small part of life. I think it's time to give back, and it's becoming more and more important to me. They have no electricity, no running water, but boy, they are a happy, loving family. They truly have something special.
Enjoy entertainment that enhances your life only on BYU TV. Tonight at 8:30 Mountain, artist Eric Dowdle travels across the world capturing the essence of each small town he visits in order to fit it all in a painting. Tune in to Painting the Town. Get pumped up for BYU women's basketball as they prepare to pummel Portland. Watch it live Thursday at 7 Mountain. Watch your favorite BYU TV shows here and catch up anytime on BYUtv.org or the BYU TV app.
BYU Basketball with Dave Rose is brought to you in part by Nissan. Innovation that excites.
All right, the final Q&A segment with Coach Rose. Use the hashtag Rose Show. Leonard Skinner, if you're out there, guys in the band, just use the hashtag Rose Show to get a question in for Coach either tonight or next week. But first, Dave, you're involved with the Infinity Coaches Challenge again this season. You're back into the round of 16 where you usually find yourself. What can you tell us about the annual contest and how it helps both the fight against cancer and BYU?
Well, you know, I sit on the council for the Coaches versus Cancer, and in those meetings, there's so many different ideas that are brought up and try to how to bring awareness to the coaches that are actually trying to raise money to fight the disease. And I think everybody knows of the Jimmy V Foundation, you know, and ESPN does that every so often as far as they're trying to raise money. But in this situation, they get I think there's 48 coaches or so that you know, are asked if they'll get their fans to try and vote for them. Then they take it from 48 to 24 down to 16 and then to 4, I think. And right now we're in you know, we're in the 16 period, and we've made it to that point. And
I think you're just outside you're I think maybe 6th right now.
And every round you get more money towards a you know, a charity that you've chosen as a coach. And the charity that we've chosen of choice here with Cheryl and I is the Simmons Center, the cancer center right here, research center right here on BYU's campus. And so the university's been great of getting us involved, getting the students involved and people involved. And we're going to make a big run here to try to get from 16 to 4. And you can vote every day. And, you know, hopefully that we can, you know, bring, and I don't really know the numbers. I think we're at $10,000 now, or maybe we can, or 7,000. We can get to 10,000. If you win the whole thing, it's $100,000, and that's, you know, for guys who raise money all the time, you're not even asking anybody to give you any money. You're just asking people to vote. You know, vote on your phone, vote on your friend's phone, vote on your kids' phones, your grandparents' phones, cousins, uncles. That all counts.
So to do just that and help Dave Rose and BYU get into the top 4, that Final Four, go on Twitter, use the hashtag #TimeOut2Vote. The 2 is a number, so hashtag #TimeOut2Vote, hashtag Coach Dave Rose, and hashtag contest, all in the same tweet. It will help Coach Rose get into that Final Four and advance to earn more money for cancer research. So do that as soon as you can. Let's go back to our in-studio mic as we continue with our Q&A. Got a fan named Alan Miner at the mic. Hello, Alan.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Coach, what are the key adjustments you'd like to see from the team as you play your last couple of games and as you head into the WCC tournament?
I think the biggest thing for us is that I think at the core of our team and what makes us really good is defensively. You know, we have good game plans. Our guys execute it really well. I think that offensively we need to become more balanced as a group. We went through that first part of league and we had a couple guys that did most of the damage offensively, and you know, what we need to spread that out a little bit. I think that there's more focus with defensive game plans, and hopefully we can just improve the confidence of our team and become a more balanced offensive group. We need to get to the free throw line. That's a big part of how we score and what we do. So that'll allow us to maybe be a little bit more aggressive as far as attacking the basket. But we do have to, when we're open, we've got to be able to jump up and stick a three-point shot.
Alan, thanks for the question. Next from Twitter, @PrattJanessa, says, aside from the final win-loss totals, what defines a successful season for you in BYU basketball?
Well, I think that's become quite an interesting question, you know, over the years. I think a lot of it is based on, you know, trying to make everybody happy, you know, and then the bottom line is that'll never happen. One thing every coach will tell you, you never win enough. And if you do win the national championship, they all want to know when you're going to win the next one, you know. So you judge it by, you know, the challenge of your players and kind of the things that you deal with over the course of a season. And obviously winning games is a huge part of it, but I think you can tell by every guest that comes through here that they really enjoy this team, they enjoy playing here, and I think that the competitive nature of this group, you can really see it, especially after a loss. Those are fun teams to play on. So, you know, I'd love to win every game, every season, and I think all the fans would love that too. But that's a pretty tough challenge, and so you've got to find other ways to make sure that your guys are reaching their full potential.
This will be this is your 13th season. You're about to wrap up your 13th season. With a win this week, at least one, hope we get two. With a win this week, you'll be no lower than 3rd in the West Coast Conference in a really, really good league at the top. And in all your years, you've never been outside of a top 3 in the West Coast Conference or Mountain West Conference. And I hope folks realize that whether it's that or the 20 wins or the postseason bids, consistency counts for something. I think it counts for a lot.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it's timing too. You know, if you went to Buffalo, New York right now and asked about Marv Levy, they'd probably all want him back. He got to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row, lost all 4 of them, but they wanted him, you know, wanted a new coach and haven't been back to the Super Bowl since. So I do believe a lot of it's timing, and that you know, our guys are being judged at a pretty high, pretty high rate, and I hope that you know that. You know, we go on a nice 8 or 9 game win streak. This will be a great year.
And that's possible, right?
There you go.
Everything's possible this time of year. Yeah. Tonight's closing comments from Dave Rose coming up next. This is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose here in Studio C.
Living at Trio is not about retirement. It's about fun.
It was so different from everything we'd been taught to expect about senior living.
I was delighted when we came and they had these raised gardens.
Just love it here. I wish more people knew about Trio.
Learn more at btrio.com.
Blue runs deep on BYU TV. Don't miss the Portland BYU women's basketball game. Live Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 Mountain. Watch all of your favorite BYU teams on BYU TV. Your home for Cougar sports.
This is Relative Race.
Are you a relative?
I am your relative.
Who are you related to?
We're first cousins.
No way!
Who has the stamina to endure this 10-day odyssey for $50,000?
4 new teams have submitted their DNA. We've found their living relatives scattered all across the country. Each team will try to find those relatives faster than their competitors.
No idea what to expect.
I need to kind of get my game face back on. We didn't know you guys even existed.
Well, what's up, cousin?
That's exactly what we define family as.
It's everything to me. That's exactly what I came searching for, and we found it.
It's something I've never experienced in my life.
Hey guys, do you have a smartphone? Do you have the Instagram app? Then you should be following Studio C TV. We post tons of behind-the-scenes stuff, Instagram sketches, and lots of pictures of us just having fun. So make sure you follow us.
Find Studio C on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Connect with us, we'll connect with you. I'm Spencer Linton from BYU Sports Nation. You are watching BYU TV. See the good.
All right, so welcome back to BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented as always by Siegfried Jensen. Here's our broadcast schedule for the week. It's a road home weekend. We do hit the road, headed for Portland tomorrow, where we hope the thaw gets us to and from the arena and things like that. It'll be a Thursday late night tip, 11 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock in the mountains, 8 o'clock over in Portland, to 7 o'clock Mountain Time radio pregame, or 7 o'clock Pacific Time radio pregame, 8 o'clock here in the mountains. It's on BYU Radio and ESPNU. Then Saturday, Zags and Cougs on ESPN2. You see the start time there, 8 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Mountain, 5 o'clock radio pregame on BYU Radio. All right, it is our penultimate show of the 2017-18 season. Next week will be our WCC tournament preview show. So, Coach Rose, by this time next week, we can talk about seeding and brackets and times and opponents and all that stuff. But for the time being, it's just go win a couple games and be as high as you can by the time you get to Vegas.
Or we could talk about penultimate.
Okay.
Anybody in here want to expand?
I guess I could have said second to last.
Okay.
But penultimate's such a fun word to say, so you use that one instead, yeah.
And now I got a new word.
Yeah. So,
I'll tell my guys tomorrow.
Yeah, guys, go win your penultimate game. Yeah, it's a rallying cry at Portland.
We'll tweet it out. Do it all.
But it is Portland Gonzaga, the Northwest swing, and we're kind of in inverse order. Good luck against the Pilots and the Zags as you look to get to Vegas on a real high note.
Yeah, I'm excited for this week. I think I've had a lot of questions about what are you looking for, what improvements can you make, what do you want to do. I think the most important thing is to win, and to get off the loss and move on, get winning. I know the game against Gonzaga will be big-time atmosphere.
All right, let's win 2. Go Cougs. We'll see you next week. For Coach Dave Rose and Rylan Bergersen, I'm Greg Wrubell. We'll see you next week on BYU Basketball with Dave Rose here on BYU TV. Good night.
Songwriting is something that I am actually really passionate about. I don't care if I earn lots and lots of money. I just want my music to go out, really. It would be absolutely amazing.
Music is one of those things that never goes away from you. It takes people back to where they heard it, who they were with when they heard it, how they were feeling when they heard it.
There are always people shaking my hand saying, "Oh, when are you coming back? We come back again next week."